Are you looking for an escape from manufactured truth wrapped in selfish agenda? Don't you just want to have a real and raw conversation, all masks and rules aside? That's what you're getting here at Titan Evolution Podcast. Get rid of all the nonsense information and discuss everything under the sun without filters. Listen to real stories of real people who will put your current perspectives to the test, guide you on living the life you truly want, and see everything free from judgment and pretenses. Time to get rid of those unhealthy environments and let your authentic self shine. Here are your hosts, Travis Johnson and Carol Carpenter.
Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm Travis, that's Carol, and apparently we got a guest named Masako, which is a really cool name. Masako is an Army veteran, mathematician, health and fitness educator. She's the former WIBA welterweight boxing champion, and she's a tech founder of Mommy2Be Me. Masako, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Blessed and highly favored, right? That's what I grew up hearing. Blessed and highly favored, and that's how I live my life because it's the royal and I, and that's how we're choosing to live. Fantastically.
Blessed and highly favored. I love it. You've got a crazy story. We met recently at a little conference down in Houston, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm a former boxing champion and stuff." And I'm like, "You're a boxing champion? Well, I got to hear about this. I really want to know a lot of stuff about you." But first, I really want to know, what is it about you that makes you a Titan and lets you do all of those things?
It's interesting. What makes me a Titan is, first of all, I believe that we're all born Titans. However, it's whether we know that we're born Titans. And I feel as though whenever you have gone through a lot of quote unquote darkness, because when you are the light, you're attracting both light and dark. And oftentimes, when you experience things that will attempt to drag you through the mud, right? Like, just heinous acts, sexual trauma, kidnapping, held at gunpoint, anything that you could think of that would cause somebody to wonder, why me? I think that's what makes me a Titan, because out of all of the things that have happened within my life, I still am able to be grateful for those opportunities, because I feel like as human beings, we're actual spiritual beings having a human experience. And earlier on, I lost my father. He transitioned from this world when I was just about to be 7 years old. And, our fathers in the household as little girls, our fathers are covering, right? Mommy, daddy. And my mother lost her husband, my father, to cancer. He too is an Army veteran. And growing up, being born on his birthday, always hearing your mother say, "You're just like your dad, you're just like your dad." It's like, what does that mean? Because when you talk about my dad, I was looking at her and I saw this sadness in her face. So what makes me a Titan is being able to look at someone, listen with my heart, see the sadness in their face, and hold the mirror up to them so they could see God within themselves, so they could rise above whatever fray they're experiencing at that moment, to reclaim their victory and be like, "Hey, I'm here, I'm breathing, there's something for me to do." And so that's what makes me a Titan. Having the ability to see into someone and see the God in them wherever they are.
That is a fantastic way to look at life. Absolutely. I know there's no one on this camera right now that isn't without their own mountain or mountain range of trauma. So it's really wonderful to see how we all have used those things to really improve our life and improve the life of others around us. That's always wonderful to see. I know Carol was going to ask you about boxing. I'll let her jump into that.
Oh, yeah. When we were reading your bio, speaking earlier, obviously, before we started hitting the record button. But yeah, when I saw that you got into boxing, I was like, I need to know how that came about. Was this after you were in the military?
No, this was before I was in the military. And I believe that all of our life situations set us up for the success that we're going to walk into. I always say alignments before assignments. So when I was in college, I was running an entertainment complex. And
entertainment complex.
Yeah, an entertainment complex. So I went to college in Washington, D.C. So an entertainment complex, actually there were two merged under one organization. And so, you know, Jay-Z, Timberland, Missy Elliott, if you could think of them like they're like the titans in the industry now, they were coming to our entertainment complex. And that's also, it's kind of, I'm going to tell this story because we're here, right? So I was running an entertainment complex, and I was doing these runway fashion shows, and I was really into helping individuals meet their goals, because being raised in a household where my mother was always like, well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? She taught me resilience early on. Instead of saying, no, how are you going to do that? So being in Washington, D.C., having an entertainment complex as my umbrella, my covering, I was able to have myself in a situation where I could be the media liaison, and I could be the woman in charge, the manager, the business intelligence asset, where I could do whatever it is that I wanted to do within these two establishments, DC Live and Platinum Club. They were across the street from one another on 9th Street, right around the corner from White House. And so within that, you know, I was doing these runway shows, and I had a troupe of men and women models where I would actually, my partner and I, we were the first people to get full body paint on these runway models with endorsements from these major designers. Like we're these two college students having these runway shows, putting our models in position where they were getting marketing expertise, they were getting headshots, they were getting working with major designers so they could launch their careers to be in you know, fashion if they wanted, runway shows, actors, whatever it is. And so I was in the thick of that, right, during my college years. And I had gone to an event where the guest speakers there were Muhammad Ali, Angela Bassett, and Bill Cosby. And I believe that was my first encounter with the idea of boxing, but I did not know that at that time. So once I graduated college, and I was like, in college, I was pre-med. I thought I was going to go to med school, right? And so I feel like everybody is not equipped to be a counselor because of whatever it is that we're going through. If we cannot set aside what we're going through to advise the people that we're looking at for their best outcome, then remove yourself from the job. And so Dr. Ola Wiley, it's funny how we remember these names. I didn't have everything that I needed to go to med school. I was some classes short, and instead of her saying, hey, what do you want to do? She was like, what's your plan B? And I'm somebody that does not believe in plan Bs. But when you look at it now, hindsight 2020, you know, being up all night, being on the crew team, getting a degree in mathematics, med school. You know what I mean? It's like is that really it?
Here's the thing. Your path is never really clear, because I too was med school and didn't end up being a doctor. So I get it. Like, life throws you these kind of like obscure things that you go, there's no way. And then you make a career out of it. And you're like, how did that happen? Out of all the things I was destined, or in my mind, destined to do, I'm not doing that. But it's so much fun, because if you go with the flow with it, all of a sudden, all these different opportunities open up that could not have happened if you hadn't taken that sharp left turn, you know?
Yeah, but I had not learned the lesson yet. And so, so after graduating, and, you know, like, well, okay, so what's your plan B? What are you going to do? I was like, plan B, what are you talking about? So I moved to New York, right? It's just, you know, a couple of hours from DC. Moved to New York. I'm at Central Park West and West 96th Street. I enroll in Columbia, but only for organic chemistry, because I'm toying with the idea of taking the post-bac program. But while taking the organic chemistry, like, you know, I'm going to snowboard in the evenings. You know, I'm going to London. Like, I'm like really not focused. Like, I'm going to Fashion Week. I'm like, I'm doing my thing, right? I'm doing my thing. It's like med school is so like, what? Being stuck in this classroom, it wasn't
you.
It wasn't who I was, and it's definitely not who I am. And I feel like I'm a doctor in my own right, because as we continue on in the story, I feel like we're all healers. And when we could look into one another and see that God self, then we could, kind of tweak a few things so we can grow and prosper who we're called to be. And so, how I became a boxer. So a friend girl of mine had met a guy online, and she was going to go to Greece. I'm like, you got to go to Greece? Why are you going to go to Greece? This girl, she's 6 foot tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, what America calls is like, I was like, girl, why do you need to go to Greece to meet a guy? That doesn't make sense to me. And, I had the capacity to say, you know what, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with you. I'm not going to allow you to go to Greece by yourself. And so I went with her. And boy, were they shocked to see me when we got off that plane. They had other plans for her. So yeah. So Cyprus, an island off of Greece. It's
my
occupied.
girlfriend's from there.
Yeah. So it's occupied by Greek and Turkish territory, right? The Green Line and Lefkosia. So they had other plans for her. So when we got off the plane, and this guy that she had been corresponding with was 20 years senior to the picture that he had been providing for her.
Catfished.
His mother had a pub in the town square. So this area within Cyprus was a heavily trafficked area.
No.
Yes, heavily trafficked area. Trafficking women from, Bulgaria, Russia, Yugoslavia, the Eastern European countries. And now, had I not arrived, they were going to have an American. 6 foot, blonde hair, blue eyes, American girl was going to be.
Thank God you went with her.
Yes. And so I feel like I'm always somebody, no matter what anybody else says, I'm always somebody that allows my spirit to guide me. Everybody could be telling me, what are you doing? That sounds crazy.
You
it makes
get
no
feelings
sense.
though.
But I'm like, I know what spirit is telling me. And so, oftentimes we'll find that, when you're assisting someone from being quote unquote saved from a situation, sometimes they don't necessarily want to be saved. Sometimes they want to find themselves in situations where they're used and abused. And so within our time, we didn't leave immediately. We got ourselves an apartment, and we got jobs. And so we're living our life. And she, like when you're in college, we all have habits in college, right? But once you graduate college, you don't do the things that you once did because you become different. We become different human beings, and we don't do the things that we once did when we grow and when we mature.
Hopefully you grow out of it.
Right. And so she got herself, she had some habits that she continued to participate in, and it became very toxic. And so within that space, I went to Prague, and I went to Jordan, and I went to Egypt. So I'm traveling, I'm living my best life, and she's got a job at a pub, and she's deciding that she may want to stay. And I'm like, well, I don't want to stay. And within that time frame, and it's okay. I feel like if we're blessed to be able to have the capacity to do things, then, we're blessed. And I feel like tools in our toolbox, they'll always be replenished, because we got to live with an abundance mindset, because we're taken care of, right? If I believe in God, I was raised that way. Granted, when my dad died, the reason why I really pushed the idea of spirituality and what is this concept of God, and who am I within relationship to God, was in hopes of seeing my father again. This was my complete driving force of all of the good in my life, right? To see my father again. And so in Cyprus, I fell prey where I began to be swindled. And she was participating in this.
Wait a second. Was she participating in getting you swindled?
Yes, I feel like that. I feel like that. And so it's like, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, stop.
You were coming to help her.
I was coming to help her. And now I feel like I was prey. Not to say that that's how it started out, but I feel like when you are someone that needs the covering of a male figure and you're easily manipulated, then the one that is on your team, you now begin to manipulate them. And out of the kindness of my heart, I'm giving freely. And then once you start, you guys, your children, as well as you have children, I'm sure. So once things begin to, the ebb and flow of life, and you start calling home, asking for things, oh, wire me this, wire me that. And they're like, okay, are you okay? What are you getting yourself? What are you involved in? You're not involved in any illegal things, are you? Right? Because like, where's your funds? Like, why are you calling for money? And so I was getting swindled, and this is how I became a boxer. I was living in an extended stay near the water in Lefkosia, Nicosia. Anyway, and the extended stay guy was like, you've been here a while. Are you okay? Is somebody owe you money? And I don't know if you guys, I felt ashamed. Like I didn't want to tell this man that I had given money to someone and they said they'd give it back. And
here's the problem with this is we project our values on other people. Like these are things that we wouldn't do to others. So when we loan money, we expect that they're going to pay us back when they say that because we would. But the problem is we project our values on other people, hoping that they are the individuals we are hoping they actually are, but they aren't.
Yeah.
So then you get stuck in a situation like this. And what do? I mean, of course there's shame involved.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, here I am, like, okay, what am I going to do? And I had met a friend while I was in Cyprus, really handsome young man.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Because I feel like you still, wherever you are, at least for me, we're going to make friends. Like I have people around the world I can call right now. It's like I have friends, I have global friends. And so, just being able to go out and, go horseback riding or go to a concert, play backgammon, just do the things that we would be doing if whatever city we lived in.
But Masako, do you think that was a distraction from what was actually happening at that moment?
What? Me
just doing stuff, even though you're stuck there. It was almost like a distraction to kind of not really grasp the fact that
the interesting thing, I wasn't technically stuck. I mean, I still had funding because after leaving there, I met some people in the airport and we went different places. But this was how I within that room, I was asking myself, what am I going to do when I get back to the United States? What am I going to do? I wasn't going to go back to DC. I wasn't going to go back to New York. What am I going to do? Now I'm born in California. And so
am I.
Hey! Sunny Cali.
Cali girls, man.
Yes, all day long, no matter where we are in the world, people are like, you're not from here, are you?
No, I get the same thing.
Yeah, you're not from here, are you? And so Muhammad Ali.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, you just
Katy Perry song.
You just want to be different.
Katy Perry song, Cali girls, man.
Yes, all day, every day. Wake up with the sunshine in our heart. And so how I became a boxer, Muhammad Ali came on TV doing something, and I was like, I'm gonna become a boxer.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna become a boxer. And like that's why how many times have we heard be intentional in your living? Be intentional in your living. And so that's what I did. When I came back to the United States, I moved to California. I moved back to California. And
but what was it about seeing Muhammad Ali that you're like, I want to do that? What was the thing? You didn't just see him in like boxing.
I wanted to be an athlete. I wanted to be an athlete. And so my reasoning in all of this. So when I was in school, so I had an interesting childhood because I've been working since I was 8 years old, right? I had a paper route when I was 8. When I was 11 and 12, there was, do you guys remember those people going door to door selling things through magazines?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I was one of those people going door to door selling things, selling things through
Freaking hell.
magazines. And so and then when I went to school, I also danced behind rap groups, like me and my sister and another girl, we danced behind rap groups. So I've always been active, and I like the idea of lights, camera, action. I like being in front of the camera. Like growing up, before Dad passed away, like we'd always go to music festivals in Catalina. We were always at Venice Beach, and so we were very active in the music scene. Our family, just know a lot of musicians, right? Music makes the world go around. And so my whole thing was I said I wanted to be a boxer, but I feel like I also wanted to get back to where it all began, because when my dad died, my mom moved from there. And I feel like we didn't have the proper way to grieve. Whenever anyone, and I'm shouting this to the world, you gotta grieve. Do not separate yourself from the environment unless it's a toxic environment. Like, you gotta grieve. And I feel like had she stayed in the home where Dad, where we all live, like it was a nice home, drive up, gate around it, nice backyard, nice front yard, you got your neighbors, we're very, very community oriented, had our church groups, played tennis. Like, she was very active. We were a very active family, with other family members on the weekend, them playing tennis, us roller skating, having picnics. Like, we were very active. And I feel like she did herself, as well as us, a disservice when he died to move us.
Well, but I
Because
think for her, the pain of being there was probably too much for her, and she needed to separate. I mean, for her, that was the only way she could continue
I
with
agree.
you,
I agree.
and
I
and
agree.
that's, yeah,
I
it's
agree. I mean,
hard.
hindsight 2020, because I feel like, each of us do the best we can with what we have. Period.
Absolutely.
So
That's it.
your thought is, we had taken from this great community, and I'm going to go back
Yeah.
there and punch people in
Yeah.
the face.
Yeah. So, well, peep this, because so my whole thing is I'm going to go back there. I'm going to reconnect with my family members and friends and everybody that knew my dad, because I'm just like my dad. So I need to know what this is. What is this feeling of being just like my dad? And, my dad is an Army veteran, graduate of UCLA with a bachelor degree in humanities, master degree, MBA, and a JD. So this is a man. And then I met all of his friends, all of their friends when we were younger, the Samples, the OJs, Earth, Wind, and Fire, like all of these greats. I was able to connect with them. Stevie Wonder. It's like I was able to connect where they left off, right? I was a child then. Like, I never got to see any of that because my dad was very strict. Adults are with the adults and the kids are with kids. And rightfully so. Like, adult has no issue. And still to this day, I'm like, when adults are trying to have conversations with kids, I'm like, no, we don't do that. You can't just talk to someone's kids. You talk to the adult. And then if they allow the interaction. So, so the idea was, what am I going to do with my life? And I know I love fitness, because fitness has always been the foundation of all things for me, with regard to everything that I experienced. Like, I ran a marathon before I graduated high school. I had a personal trainer. And whenever I went on my junior high tour, I would walk. I would walk a lot, and I'd walk to these tracks, and I'd run around the track. So fitness has always been my foundation. And so I wanted to get paid for doing something that I was going to need to do anyway. What could I do where I know that I'm going to excel in? Box. Always do something that you're great at. I'm undefeated. Do something that you're great at. And I know just like I knew then, you know what can I do where I can excel? I wasn't going to go and join no WNBA. I hadn't played basketball since I was in 7th grade. And plus, I don't like getting my hands dirty. You know what I mean? So
wait a second. You get your hands dirty boxing. Come on.
Well, no, I have wraps.
Tape, wraps, gloves.
Yeah, I have wraps.
You're still sweaty.
Also, wait a minute. This also is the fabric of who I am also. As a boxer, I have myself to rely on. Being raised in a family where I'm the middle child, I've always been the person where like, oh, what do you want to do? Somebody wants to do something. All right, well, let's do that. Well, let's do it. I have a tendency to believe that I'm always going to be put back in the position where I'm supposed to be. So I will step outside of whatever I'm doing for myself to help somebody else up the road. And I've always done that. And so I feel like as an individual, like, okay, this is my time for me. I don't have
to shine separately.
Yeah. Plus, I feel like I didn't have a childhood. So to box, oh, this is my childhood. This is my opportunity at childhood as an adult. And so I took it.
Awesome.
And I moved to California.
I think you're the only person in history to equate punching people with the face to, going back into their childhood as a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it provide, though, the closure that you needed going back there? And learning a little bit about your dad and because you were, obviously your mom moved you guys away, but reconnecting with all these people, hearing the stories and really understanding why that, people were saying you're so much like your dad.
Yes. Like he's great. And I feel like family is so important, whether it's the family that we're born into or extended family that we meet, right? Our friends that become family. I'm so grateful for them. One of the things that I really enjoy when I was living in California, boxing, my cousin, we all have relatives that were just alike, and he lives in France now, but he would always play the piano for me when we woke up. And I was like, oh, that right there, so like
sweet.
That's living. You're serenaded with the piano when you wake up while you're preparing to get ready to go out into the world. And
that must be a girl thing. Like you guys both were like, oh, at the same time, and I was like,
I just thought it was sweet.
Piano.
I didn't say that it wouldn't. It's just nice that somebody was thoughtful enough to do that.
Right. I mean, you know what? I feel the same way for my friends that, serenade me with the guitar. I have friends here that, if I go over their house, they'll take their guitar off the wall, off the hook, and, they'll play the guitar. I'm just somebody that I love music. And I feel like music connects us globally. Like there is no separation with music. It's a vibe.
Well, and it goes over language barriers. It connects everybody. There is no language that needs to be known. It connects everyone.
Yes.
That's actually the primary way other people around the world learn English is by listening to American music, specifically hip hop, because they're talking. And like that's the way,
that's why they have bad grammar.
That's why everybody learns the curse words.
That's why they have terrible
grammar. Not that hip hop. I mean, I love hip hop. I was dancing behind hip hop groups when I was in high school.
It's California, man. Hip hop rap was big. Yeah.
I love hip hop. I love East Coast hip hop. I love West Coast hip hop. I love Russian hip hop. I love German hip hop. I love French hip hop. Like,
what about
it's just like
Atlanta
it's that vibe.
Hip hop?
Atlanta hip hop.
Outkast. When they came on the scene, it wasn't East Coast or West Coast. It was their own vibe.
True.
Well, you know what?
True.
Yes. You know who? What vibes? And this may be dating me, but you guys know what vibes Outkast gave me? Lakeside. Fantastic voyage. Slide, slippity slide. Yeah, just slid it out.
There's
Lakeside, right?
You say date yourself. There's a chance you're the youngest person on this call.
I think you might be.
Oh. Yeah, well, I get cast from 27 to 33, so maybe.
Oh, you are the youngest person. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And
you went
so,
on this discovery of yourself. You end up in California. You start boxing.
yeah.
You meet some of these legends, and they say you're just like your dad. So what is it about you that is just like your dad?
Oh, you know what? I'm going to do everything possible to have peace and harmony in my life, and to whatever comes up, to accomplish my goals, and to extend a hand if I have something that can help someone become a better version of themselves. I'm going to extend my hand to that, and I'm always going to laugh. I'm always going to have a good time, no matter whatever is happening or what one has experienced. I'm not going to allow that to put a rain cloud over my day. Just like him, it was always a time to shine and
He
party.
was
And so,
positive.
yeah, very positive, no matter what.
Mhm.
My mom says that he lived like that was his last day. Well, guess what? That's what I live like too. If today is my
So
last day, I'm gonna live it exactly like I'm living it today.
yeah. So the sadness in your mom's face was her missing how wonderful your dad
Yes,
was. That's
yes,
pretty
yes.
heartwarming.
She's still a widow today. She's gonna be buried next to him in the veteran cemetery.
Mm,
Like, and I'm born on his birthday, and so that created a special relationship for us growing
yeah.
up too. It's just like, I felt the need, and I put this jacket on myself. Nobody else did this. I felt the need to be able to. I have a Jesus complex. I want to fix things, and
Mhm.
versus just letting things be. I want everything to be better. Because I want to be in an environment where it's high vibration, and then
Mhm.
healthy and loving, and I just feel like that feels better.
It
That's
does, but
that's the
it's
reasons.
not, yeah, of course, but it's not always your responsibility either
I agree. I learned
to,
that since
yeah.
since becoming a mother. Since becoming a mother, I've learned a phrase that would have did me a great deal of good early in life, and that phrase is, "Now's not a good time."
Mm,
Now's
That's a
not a
great
good
way to
time.
say no and maintain those boundaries. It's
Yeah.
interesting that you talk about the high vibration and the helping other people. You're in
Hmm.
the reason you're such a good fit for the show is because you're in the right room. This is exactly how Carol and I feel. Everything that we do is so everyone in our lives can be the best version of themselves.
Hmm.
Everyone in here says no to to energy vampires
Right.
and crazy people, and we want to just live in this harmony. We want to give, to operate at the highest level in that abundant mindset. And that's one of the first things that jumped out at me for the reason I wanted to have you on the show. The boxing thing was interesting, but it
Hmm.
was, who you were down at the conference. Because so I'm like one of the few guys at this conference. There's me, Ira, Tom, and Josh and Tiago, 5 men, and there was like what, 60 women there?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
you
uh,
guys love it.
well, I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
I
of
mean, what
course,
man doesn't?
of course, love all the
What man
attention.
doesn't enjoy being around a
But
group of
at a
women?
conference focused on women, sometimes they're there because they need to have healing and they don't want to be around guys. And I get it, and I totally get it. Don't blame them. I understand. But it was wonderful that we were able to connect, and just we only had a few moments, but there was this instant connection.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of way that Carol and I live our lives. Like we're out, we're doing things, we're in public, we're in places, and people just, gravitate to us. And you'll see
Very
those
true.
people on the fringes that are being repelled because their spirit can't stand to be around something so bright.
We're too
Yeah.
bright and shiny for them.
Facts. Facts. Yeah. Yeah.
Too bright and shiny. I wanted to ask you a little bit about this mommy to be and me,
Hmm.
because it's an interesting concept because this name was given to you. I want to hear more about that.
Yeah. So, Mommy to Be Me was given to me when my daughter was in my belly,
Mm,
and so I'm like, Mommy to Be Me. What I found out when she was 4 months old, it was revealed to me what Mommy to Be in Me is. And so when I woke up that morning, I began to make phone calls, and the me, Mommy to Be in Me, the me is the men, the LGBTQI plus, the adoptive parent, the grandparent that became a parent again due to loss of life. And so it's conscious technology. It's an application that will provide services and resources for single parents with children 10 and under. And I feel like that happened because I was now going to be going through something that so many people before me had gone through, but now I was given the gift that I was going to be able to provide an opportunity for them to have a level playing field to grow and prosper because of my mindset, because of the experiences that I have already experienced in life. And now that I'm going through it, I could relate and understand what it is that was needed. And in my process of becoming a single mom, because, you know, nobody ever starts off with the idea, well, some people, but in my history, nobody, at least for me, let me just speak about in my history, the way I have lived my life, the way I have moved around this globe, I could have not ever imagined that I was going to become a single mother, that I would be a single mother. Just the way that I live my life, the decisions that I have made to wait so long to become a mother. And then when I'm talking to my friends, you know, from around the globe, I'm like, oh, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant. And they're like, oh my God, I know this guy must be fascinating. You know, he must be great, you know, because of my character. They're imagining that whomever is going to walk alongside me, they must be this phenomenal human being. And I still believe that he's a phenomenal human being. He just could not continue on my journey with me. And so leading up to me becoming pregnant, you know, now that I think about it, like I began preparing to be a mother 2 years out. And that's clean eating, clean lifestyle, healthy conversations, the intensity at which I went about my life with regard to my physical activity, remember, because that's my foundation of all things, my physical activity, sewing into myself, certifications, preparing to shift, moving out of the space where I'm working with people one-on-one and started thinking more big picture thinking, right? And so I created a vision board. And on this vision board, I had all of these things, stuff, right? I had all of these things, the stuff. And I had Michael B. Jordan on there.
I'm picturing like a teenage bedroom with like posters of pop stars and celebrities on the wall. Is that,
dear God.
is that what it was?
It was more, it wasn't on my bedroom wall, but in my experience, anytime I have had a vision board party, with the exception of 1 or 2 people, the people that I have allowed to participate in this vision board party with me, they have checked off
every box.
Boom,
yep.
Boom, 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 boom. Like they're living around the globe. They're like, man, Masako, this vision board party. You're like, ha. And so I did my own vision board party. And if you could imagine all of the accoutrements of the finest things in life that one would imagine, right? Whatever those things are for you. And so I had this vision board. And so one day I asked myself, what does it look like to live my most perfect life? That was it. I left home. I walked to dance class because I also believe that dancing is something that each of us should do because it helps us connect with our inner child. So if we have any issues from childhood that we haven't healed, we can heal that portion through dance. And so I'm walking to dance class, and I like fast cars. So whoop, this fast car whips by me and literally halts after passing me, and then makes a U-turn and pulls in front of me and proceeds to have a conversation, says that they're going where I'm going, coerces me to get into the car, and my spirit was like, no, don't get in the car, don't get in the car, because now the idea of all of the every experiences that you've ever had that you knew didn't work out, you're like, ah.
Right. Red flag.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. He's like, come on, we're going to the same place. We're going to the same place. Blah, blah, blah. So, you know, long story short, I get in the car. We go to the dance class that I go to religiously, right? Because I'm a consistent individual. Whatever I'm doing it consistently. And so this guy is he looks like Michael B. Jordan in the face. He looks like Michael B. Jordan in the face. And so I realize now, so he sold me on a wonderful idea where he created an environment where I absolutely believed everything he said. Aren't you tired of being single? Man, let's get married. Let's have a family. Change your last name. I'm like, I'm not interested in changing my last name. I like my name. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, and so he's like, oh, you're going to be mine. You're going to be mine. Like, just, telling me everything that I wanted to hear to create an environment where I was all in. I was all in. I was all in. He created an environment where I was all in. I wasn't second guessing anything. I'm like, all right, if we're going to do this, let's do this. And so we began to practice making babies.
For the viewers at home, I'll let you Google that one.
Right. We began to practice making babies. And so, as time is passing, I'm realizing that he doesn't have the type of character that I want in my life, right? Like all of the I'm all in was I began to, maybe I'm not all in. Maybe I don't want this.
Did this end up being the father?
Let me continue with the story. Because whenever anybody tells me, let me just share. And so God is her father. He is a donor. He's never met her. When I told him that we were pregnant, he says that this isn't what he wants. That if I decide to do this, I'm going to be doing it on my own. I could expect nothing from him. And then he got nasty. Like, why would you want? And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. You don't have to be a part of it. The idea that somebody would imagine that I would choose another human over a living entity in my body is absolutely absurd to me. Like, do you think you're so self-important? And to this day, I'm grateful for him because he set the scene for it to be the most perfect situation for us to bring her into this reality. And so I'm like absolutely grateful for him. Like, he was that person on the vision board, but I did not have the substance to back it up. We did not have the I can say I didn't have the emotional IQ to go back and forth with him. If you say this is what you want, absolutely, this is what you want.
Believed him.
Will not.
Yeah.
Right. I believed in both instances. I believed you when you said, let's do this. We're going to be a family. We're going to have a baby. It's going to be the most perfect life. We're going to do this together. I believed him when he said that. And when he said, I don't want this, you're going to do this on your own. You're not going to get anything from me. I believed him as well.
Also. Yep.
And so to me, he is a donor. He's never met her. He doesn't pay any support. I'm grateful for him. I don't have any ill will for him. I wish him the best. I hope that he reaches all of his dreams and goals in life. Like, I bless him with all of the love and light that there
you
is
don't
to
harbor
have.
Yeah, you don't harbor ill will towards him
at
all.
Yeah. I wish him the best.
Because, by the way, he gave you an amazing daughter.
He gave me a gift. And I feel like that was the response to that question. What does it look like for me to live my most perfect life? And so Mommy2Be Me was birthed because God is her father. And God gave me literally that small voice in our head and in our heart with Mommy2Be Me, because I would have not ever imagined that what I'm experiencing, to live in an environment where you make more than you can to get welfare, but you don't quite make enough to have a private plane.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, you're right in between.
It's a huge gap. And because of my experiences in childhood, I know the importance of what it is to have a pediatrician that knows your name. I feel like it's so important for a pediatrician to know your name. And I find that the idea of welfare, there's like some shame and disgrace around that. And I want to eliminate poverty because there is enough for us to have everything that we need and want within our life based off a simple mindset. And I know it to be true, which is why Mommy2Be Me, whatever services that we offer and provide for the parent and the child, if they can't afford it, that's okay. Because with our strategic partnerships, we have a API built in where we'll be able to cover those funds that they need. And it's not just medical appointment. It's like things that really matter. Like we know that when we apply for that college, right? We know that we need to be well balanced, whether it's dance, sport, debate, volunteer, things that make a well balanced life. It is not a balanced life to go to work and go home, go to work, go home, be so exhausted that you don't have any time with your kids, that you don't have any personal time.
Well,
to
you
sow
don't
back
even
into
have
yourself.
anything left.
Yeah, you
Quite
don't
honestly.
have
Yeah.
you don't have anything left. So the whole concept of Mommy2Be Me is for the child and the parent, whatever the parent looks like. So just providing a safe community for you to access the tools that you need to have a happy, well-balanced life with structure and routine.
Yeah. And I gotta say some things here, because you do a great job of explaining all of the stuff that you do and your why, but you don't do a good job of taking breaths between sentences. So I gotta go back a little bit to jump on some of this stuff. First off, very much applaud you for what you're doing with Mommy2Be Me.
Yes.
As a kid that lived in a single parent home or with relatives or in foster care myself, I'd understand what it means to be on welfare, understand what it means to need support. I understand all that. There's a section of motherhood that a lot of people aren't familiar with, and that a lot of wives in the military end up being married single parents because the husband is gone all the time. So my kids really lived a huge chunk of time with their mom as a single parent, even though we were married, even though we lived together. But when I'm not there, I'm not there, and really appreciate the resources that you have. Second off, I really appreciate your attitude towards your donor, as you call him. How many people do we know that they have an ex and all they do is talk shit about their ex? They poison their own self and their own life and their own kids against this person with almost every breath they take, with every word they say for years. And really, it's not hurting the ex at all. It's hurting yourself
Them.
and it's hurting your kids.
Yeah, I call it, they're holding themselves hostage. Here's the thing. In life, things change, ideas change. We change our minds about who we are or who we want to be and or who we want to be with. I feel like we shouldn't hold people hostage as well as ourselves. We shouldn't hold ourselves hostage. We're not intended to, this is my personal belief. I don't believe that it is intended for one person to be with another human being forever. It's unnatural. I think it's unnatural. And so I feel like people hold themselves hostage to individuals with the words that you say, right? Because words carry weight. Oh, he said or she said they were going to love me. They were going to be here. Da, 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 da. Well, what about, I feel like we're meeting the person I'm meeting your first traumatic experience that you've yet to heal from. That's who I believe that I'm meeting, whomever I meet, like your first traumatic experience that you have yet to heal from. And so it's such a disgrace to ourselves to hold ourselves hostage over such darkness. If we truly believe that we are spiritual beings, that we are emanations of God, and I understand that I've met people in my life that they don't believe in God or a higher source, but there is a higher something, because we, whether you believe it or not does not mean whether it exists or not. It is what it is. And so just as much as things try to tear you down, if we could take that energy to use it as our platform to raise us up, I feel like we'd be better off serving humanity, because it's each of our duties to look into one another to say, okay, you're great. Let's be great together. But sometimes the brokenness and the expectation, like we expect things of people that they did not They did not validate.
Intend
Yeah.
either.
They didn't intend. They didn't agree. Hey, you can expect this from me. And so when that happens and we hold them hostage, we're actually holding ourselves hostage because they've moved on. And I think it's really unfortunate for the individuals that are involved in that, because I feel like as a steward to the royal one, it is my duty to provide her the best environment for her to flourish, for her to do and be what she, as a spiritual being, has
Well,
been called to do here on this earth.
and you set the example for her in
Yeah.
doing so.
Yeah. 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 She's the best. I always say, if you wonder how you walk into a room, watch your kids walk into a room.
Yep. They learned from you.
Yes. Yes.
They certainly
Yes.
do. They certainly
Mhm.
do. I love talking about kids. We end up talking about kids or parenting, like every other episode. I feel like they have such
Yep.
a huge impact on the world. The way that governments set aside money for them, you wouldn't think that they have an impact on the world, but they do. Talking about you go ahead and attach whatever meaning to that you think that applies to. But we have these opportunities that are photocopies of the couple that go around and they do things and they learn about life and they have some kind of focus, some kind of desire, some kind of drive to do something. And we have such a huge responsibility to make sure that we're putting them in a position for them to live their best life, whatever that is. Might be that you need to go to all the fancy colleges and start a huge business and make all this money. It may be that you are going to have an impact on a different level. Whatever that looks like for my kids, I really feel like I did the right job. Like I didn't hold them hostage to eating every grain of rice on their plate. So my
Mhm.
kids ate when they were hungry, finished when they said they were full, and my kids are happy, healthy, and slim, which is wonderful. And they're gonna figure out what it is that their desire, their destiny, their fate is for what they want to do. And I'm so happy that we're creating these environments for our kids to actually do that. And you can see
Yeah.
right now the Gen Z's pushing back on the story that we were fed, that you get a good job, you work for 30 years, you pay off your
Yeah.
house. And
Yeah.
they're showing us
That's
right now.
Yeah.
indentured servitude is what that
Yeah.
is.
It
Yeah.
is. It really is.
Yeah.
But they're showing us right now that they heard what we said and they're rejecting that model.
Yeah.
I think millennials are getting a lot of the stick for this one, living at home with mom and dad or whatever the thing is, and those complaints aren't without merit. But they're realizing the story that we were fed as grown people, it doesn't
Mhm.
work. It really doesn't
Right.
work. So it's great to have that opportunity to have your kids grow and blossom into who they're meant to be.
Yeah. It's our duty. And that's
Mhm.
why my whole thing is like, how do we, if our concern is our kids, how do we make sure that our children are put in the perfect situation? Create the situation. That's why each child in this universe, in this galaxy, each child is our duty, because to see another person's child, like, it's our duty. Like, I'm going to make sure the environment's proper for my child, and the byproduct of that properness, you're going to be blessed too. There's enough
Absolutely.
for all of us to be blessed.
Absolutely. I'm looking back through your bio and it says you were an Intel analyst, and a lot of people outside the military don't really understand what that is. I understand what it is, and it's just a way to really do research, is what it
Yeah.
really is. What did it mean to you to be an Intel analyst?
Well, it's interesting because, whenever, I was deciding on this job, I thought it would be really cool, to be able to take a look into communities of wherever the community is, and be able to take a fine tooth comb and see what was happening and why it was happening and who was connected to what was happening.
Mhm.
The meat and potatoes for me, it's always like, who is connected, who's pulling the strings. And for me, that's a very important job, to know who's pulling the strings and why are the strings being pulled. Like, what is the purpose behind all of this? And so, you know, I just thought it'd be really cool to have a top secret security clearance. I thought it'd be really cool to have a top secret security clearance and to be able to, you know, look into the personal lives of people to find out what they're doing and what's behind it. And I
The
got
driving
to,
force.
yeah, the
Mhm.
driving force. And I got to, the cool thing about that is, you know, I was able to send, you know, send some people downrange and let them know, you know, what was happening in the environments that they were going to and what to look out for, you know, because,
Mhm.
you know, not all environments are perceived as hostile environments.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important to note that that we're not allowed to gather intel on Americans. Like
Yeah, it's
only
against the
doing
law.
this for the places that we're deployed to and in those situations. I really got the chance to work closely with an intel team when I was in Bahrain, and up until that point, I thought everyone was just like a spy. Like
Hmm.
they're going around doing spy stuff, and they got
Yeah,
like
yeah,
drops and
Like a
codes and all
James
this stuff.
Bond movie all
Yeah,
day
and
long.
what
yeah.
you discover,
Without the short dresses.
everyone's got like a gun strapped to their thigh or whatever on the inside. Yeah, all these things, and to see like the level of professionalism that our intel community has and the diligence towards gathering the intel needed to make those really life or death situations. It was refreshing for me to see that even though it wasn't like a cool spy movie that I thought it might be, it wasn't at that, but they took a lot of care and diligence in
Yeah.
their duties, and it's really, really interesting to see how that all unfolds.
Yeah, I think it's very important that whatever we're going to do, for whatever reason of doing it, is to get all of the information. Actually, more than all of the information, because more than all of the information, because just the information itself may not tell the picture, may not tell the story, but we need
Mhm.
to gather more. Like we need to be looking at, and that has that duty mindset, right? Having living with the idea that it is our duty to provide a safe environment globally. So really going the extra effort to find out all of the information that we need to find out to tell a proper picture. Because, you know, we're reporting to commanders like, this is what you can expect when you're going out there. The information that we're providing, it's going to save lives or it's going to take lives away. So if we look at one another as, hey, you are my brother and sister, I am here to make sure that you're put into an environment where you're going to excel
Mhm.
and be safe, then, you know, there's a sense of duty with that. Like, you know what, I'm carrying the torch. It is my responsibility to collect as much data as necessary and then give you what I believe to you, give you what I believe is going to allow you to make the best decisions.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
feel like life prepared me for that.
Right? Yeah. How would you say those skills that you learned in the army, especially in the intel world, how have those skills translated into the rest of your life?
Being able to be a big picture thinker. I feel like that has helped me be a big picture thinker, taking a look at uh, more than what is in my current environment. Like there's always an end, right? To every action, there's a reaction. There's always an end goal, an end game. So having the ability to be a big picture thinker and look at the not just my environment, but 20 steps ahead, what is the outcome?
Mhm.
So that's definitely prepared me even for what I'm doing now with regard to the royal one and, you know, her future and her colleagues. I call her whenever I drop her off at school. I was like, all right, enjoy your colleagues, because, you know, her classmates are her colleagues, because this is their
True.
work right now. They're learning to get along with one another. They're learning that, you know, they're our leaders. They're our leaders of tomorrow.
They really are. As we're getting ready to wrap up here, I got a couple questions for you. One to be what advice would you have for someone that may be struggling, like a single parent? And then where's the one place you want people to connect with you?
My advice for a single parent,
Yeah.
uh, my advice to a single parent is to know that you're not alone. There are
Mm.
11.6 million single parents within the United States with you, so you're not alone. And And for me, I feel like that's a good place to be, knowing that we're not alone, because oftentimes when we are by ourselves, we think that we're alone. So whatever is happening, whatever you may be struggling with right now, just take a deep breath and just breathe for a good 10 seconds. Will help you to reset. And one of the things that I did earlier on, because as I was carrying my child, I got a traumatic brain injury. I had, there was a box fell on top of my head. And then, so with physical activity being my baseline, I exercised every day until the Friday before I delivered her on Wednesday. But after I delivered her, the pediatrician said, don't work out for 6 weeks. I know I always say you shouldn't have any regrets, but I feel like that was my biggest regret, because physical activity being my mental health, right? That's how I stay on top of things. Not working out, getting hit on top of the head, having postpartum depression. Like those were things where I felt like I was by myself. And I didn't quite know now's not a good time. And so still having people need me and them telling me, oh, nothing's wrong with you, or why can't you do this for me? And I'm like, have you stopped to think, like, I'm doing this? I have a child. And I'm not in the best shape of my life right now, even though I made a deal with the universe. Like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life right now, right? And so just to breathe, because those moments where you feel like the world is caving in on you. I have a story. I'll share it. It was on Mother's Day, and I was not feeling like myself, and the royal kept pulling at me, and my PTSD was kicking up, right? It was like every touch was like becoming more and more. And I try to be very intentional without when I'm with her, to not give off any of that I can't take it vibe. And
Right.
she just kept. And so I was like, baby, mommy's cup is empty right now. I don't have anything to give you. Please stop. Please stop. Mommy's cup is not full right now, babe. I normally give to you from my saucer, and my cup is empty. Like, I'm having this conversation with her. She put her arm around me and just laid on me. And I cried, because I'm sensitive. But being able to say that out loud and not have a reaction, because I feel like whatever energy we're putting out into the universe, that's what we're putting on our kids. And so I'm speaking to her like she's a human, because she is human, right? She's a spirit having a human experience. I'm like, mommy doesn't have what you're needing right now. Could you just give me a minute? And so as a single parent, wherever you are, talk to your kids like they're humans, like they understand you, they feel you, they're from you. Even the dads, they're single dads, whatever got you in the situation where you are a single parent right now, talk to your kids. Just talk to them, not at them, talk to them, because they understand, and they thrive. They're little versions of you. So talk to your child like you would like someone to talk to you. That's my advice.
Absolutely. And where would you want people to connect with you with?
That's a good question.
One place. Instagram,
yeah,
LinkedIn.
I know.
What's the one
Connect
place?
with me at my winner one on Instagram. MAIWYNNR, the number 1.
Fantastic.
That's the best place to connect with me.
Thank you so much for being our guest today. We thoroughly enjoyed having you on. Love connecting to people and really getting a chance to understand who they are and what drives them. So I really appreciate that. Carol, do you have any final words?
No, it was such a pleasure having you on, Masako.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode of Titan Evolution Podcast. We hope this no-holds-barred conversation opened your eyes on what it takes to live a genuinely happy life according to your own terms. Now that you've treated yourself to such a refreshing discussion, you cannot listen to nonsense content anymore. Be sure not to miss an episode by subscribing to the show at TitanEvolutionPodcast.com. Don't forget to share the word so more people can be enlightened, informed, and entertained. Thank you for listening.